Sima said, my name is Dirk Beelen. I live in Adelaide. I'm not Australian, as you can hear. My wife is, she's from Adelaide, and that's why I live in Adelaide, which is a nice little city, I would say, in Australia, my personal experience. When I was moving here, I have a corporate background, so I've always been in corporate environment. And when I came here, I was introduced through Sima as well, through my wife. And that's how I know REOSK, and that's why I'm involved now as well. Myself, I'm supporting businesses to grow and to further develop. And I look forward to also bring here my expertise in market and business development, I would say, for this specific and very, very good opportunity. You've got here a person, I'm not going to ask you his name, but his name is Sergei Bubka, and he's a pole vault. Why do I put him down? Well, he's quite unique in the fact that he had his world record for more than 20 years. He basically was developing himself, even without any competition. He was developing himself and his technologies and his techniques to really have the best available. And as such, he created a major gap with the first follower, and he had an unseen competitive advantage. He improved his last record in 1994, and it was beaten last year in February. So there was 20 years that it was there, and even when he was retired, it was not there. That's how much he was ahead of the company, of the rest of the competition. So why am I saying you all of this? Is basically, this is a bit what I feel when I think about REOSK. Sima has been working on this for many years, and even there was no competition, and even she was fighting on her own in a little corner to get it all up and running. It's the drive to always do better, to improve, to make it more complete, to make it more compliant, that has resulted in the product that we have today. And that's why I decided to become a shareholder as well, have invested myself as well, because I do believe that there is a major future for this opportunity. If you ask me the question, why REOSK? Because there's plenty of other businesses out there. Well, first of all, I would say that, as Sima said in her initial presentation, it is a perfect concept for an industry that was suffering from some poor ethical business conduct. And this has, as a result of that, this has resulted in complex and very difficult to understand regulatory guidelines. So very often the real estate agents are just not aware what needs to happen when there are changes. They are doing things and they are considering this as the right thing to do, but then will find out that they ultimately are in trouble and have to fine, as Sima just mentioned. So to understand all that is not straightforward. Second thing, so it gives an answer there. The second thing that I want to say is also that REOSK is built bottom up, meaning Sima had to do the hard work because she was in the beginning a junior real estate agent as well, and was confronted with all these technical problems, these regulatory guidelines, these demands from fair trade. And as such, she decided first to have her own little system for her own business to make it easier for her to be compliant. And as such, she understood that there was a market because there was nothing out there, and so she had to develop everything herself. So it's really built bottom up, meaning from a need from one person, moving it up to where we are today as a real business to support the real estate industry. The third reason why I think I invested in REOSK is Sima. I mean, she's a hard worker, she is a very dedicated person, and as I always say, failure is not an option for her. She will keep on pushing, she will make sure that she has all the information and will take the right decisions. Although sometimes people will tell to say that you're dreaming, you believe your dream and keep pushing and make sure that it becomes reality as well. And that is how I have seen Sima for the last nearly 10 years now, I think. And then The last reason why I think REOSK is a very interesting business to invest in is that it is a global opportunity, as Sima just mentioned. It's not only just now New South Wales, but also the rest of Australia can benefit from it, but also the highly regulated countries that have the good legislative environment for real estate industry, them as well will be interested. And then you're talking about Singapore or even California, and there's many more out there that would benefit from such a system, and then adapt it obviously to the local legislation. But also it can be used as a standalone as we do today. I mean, it is here for the real estate business as such under the current REOSK brand, but basically it could also become a part of a multinational network. I mean, you can imagine that, for instance, one of the very big real estate agencies, the worldwide ones, would consider that as an in-house system to help their real estate agents to be compliant. So at that moment, it would mean that the business would be sold off or acquired by one of these very big organizations. But again, a major opportunity for the current shareholders and the future as well, of course. So, as I said, one of my roles in the last 25 years, I think, is to look how we can market a product, and whether it's a product or a service. I try to always think out of the box and see what are the opportunities out there. Where can we bring this product so that we have the right awareness, and that we can create the need, which is the basic statement for marketing, is create the need, and then at that moment people will start buying it. So if I look into the target markets, there's basically in a very short time frame that I will talk here, there's three that I would like to mention. The first of one is a tactical market development, and it basically is the real estate agency business owner. And this can be a single entrepreneur, this can be an SME, or this can even be the national or international real estate corporation. So that's the first group, and that would be purely tactical. This is really having a sales force going out, sell the product, and that would be the first step. The two other ones are more strategic thinking. This is not going to be a straightforward sell, but it's definitely that we can consider. Is first of all the government, and the second one are the institutional investors in real estate agencies, which basically means that for the last two we will have to think a bit out of the box how we're going to approach them, but there is definitely a great opportunity to do so as well. Let me go into some details of the three business opportunities that I see out there. So what is the added value for the real estate agency business owner? First of all, for them there is a lower cost of true compliance, because at that moment, as Sima already said, there's quite a lot of fines involved. But if you have the REOSK system implemented and operational, you will have less or no fines. Your audit preparation costs, so once the people come in, you basically have to be ready and have to provide them with the information. Most of the time they just walk in and start looking in your books. That's what's happening today here in New South Wales. But also there will be people like in South Australia, they warn you between quotes. They will basically say, we're going to come and check your agency, so make sure that the right people are there, so we can ask the right questions and that we get the answers that we need. So here, a real estate agency will have to start preparing the audit, and if they are working with REOSK, this preparation is going to be much less. During the audits, people will walk in the offices, consider the office here, and then at that moment will ask you questions. You have to stop whatever you're doing, so you have downtime. That will be reduced as well. And on top of that, because REOSK is quite easy, it might be complex because of the vast amount of documents, but easy to use. That means that you have less personnel training, and if someone leaves, the system is there with all the information in there, so you don't have to start from scratch. You just need to make sure that the person that comes on board uses the system as it was designed, and which is relatively easy. So that's, I would say, relatively straightforward forward selling. Then, obviously, easier day-to-day management of the agency. Everything is at your fingertips. Documents are there, but everything is on your fingertips. Works easy. It's much easier to do all the reporting that is needed for internal business management, but also for customer management. All the documents are there. It's a matter of filling it in, sending it out, and all the information is there, and it's documented in the system, which means you can always go back to the details. And last, which I think is key as well, is that you have a much more professional market perception, because the outgoing documents, all the documents will have your logo on it. At that moment it feels that it is professional, it looks good. There's no, or much less human errors. You don't forget a date, you don't forget to sign, because everything is documented in the system as well. And it gives the feeling for the customers that you are on top of the business. You really are managing it well, you know what's happening, and you show it through a very professional system. Then the two strategic ones. First of all, the governmental bodies. What is the added value for them if they would consider REOSK? First of all, the cost of compliance for them is going to go down. What do I mean with that? If they have to come in like here now and they have to look through your books, it takes time at that moment to do that physical look into books. If they say REOSK is the system that you need to use, at that moment it's very easy for them to find the right information, because they have endorsed it and they basically say, give me this and this report. They know what is behind it, they understand, and immediately the audit goes much quicker. So basically they will walk in and ask the agency, are you a REOSK or a non-REOSK company? And if you're a REOSK company, they say to the 3 auditors that came in, the 2 other can go, one stays and say, give me this and this and this report, and at that moment they feel that everything is under control and works well. So for them there is a major impact on that. So that means, as I said, the personnel costs will go down for the governments, but also the personnel retention costs, because what is happening today, you have people in complex environments that they have to train their people to get to the right standard and that they understand all the legislation and the regulatory requirements. That kind of training takes quite a bit of time, and then at a certain moment they're fully trained, they will start to deliver and give a return on the investment, and then the industry can pay much higher wages or salaries and say, you know it all, come and work for me, and then government has to start training them again and from scratch. So to keep these highly trained individuals, they need to put very good and smart retention plans in place, and still they cannot compete with the industry at that moment. So with a system like REOSK, there might be an interest for them to at that moment have the system do all the work and have less training of the personnel, so the personnel retention costs are going to be lower, and the training and support costs are going to be lower. So there might be a quite good interest in going and talk to the government. Of course, there is the concept of preference. They have to always tender, they have to open it up to a variety of companies. They cannot just say, you need to work with REOSK, because that they cannot do that. But there's ways around that to address that, so that is not too much problem. You have the cost of compliance that will go down, but also the cost of non-compliance will go down, because if everything is in control and is compliant and is doing well, you don't have fine collections anymore. You don't have prosecution or less prosecution costs and less legal fees for the government. So there is an incentive for them to do that as well, because their cost of operation will go down for this specific one. And lastly, I didn't put down, but another benefit for them as well is right now, and not just here in Australia, but also outside of Australia, what is happening in the Sydney market, lots of people are looking like, how is this possible that it is so expensive there, the properties? And they feel like, is there something funny going on? And then they hear about some of the fraud cases or the issues that went wrong, and that doesn't reflect on the government either. So they want that out of there. Again, REOSK might help here as well to polish that image of what is happening in the real estate industry here in Sydney, I would say. So that is another one that you would consider as a benefit for a government. But again, this is a more strategic approach, very doable, but a completely different approach to bring it into the market. And then the last one, very quickly, is basically institutional investors. This would be the very big organizations that would buy or have major shareholders in the Jones Lang Wooden or those kind of companies. Why would they be interested in using the REOSK system? Here you basically give them, as the major shareholder, a dashboard that very easily shows what is happening in the companies. So for them, the internal audits which they do for their investments, they will be much easier because again they know the system and know where to find the information. But also they will avoid the negative brand exposure. That means if something goes wrong with these big organizations, if there would be I'm just picking a name, not that there's anything wrong with them. I will not put, I was going to put Rain Horn or LJ Hooper or so, but if there would be at that moment a fraud case or a major non-compliance, then the investor in these companies could have some of the flack as well, and they don't want that for them. So they basically don't want that negative brand exposure and the risk of fines for these bigger. So they don't want that because they have shareholders as well, and they don't want that. So for me, that is again big of a stretch, but I don't consider that as impossible. I do believe that there is an opportunity to move there as well in business development. So as Sima said, we're very close to market here in New South Wales, and I really look forward to get the first end user feedback and then to start moving it along. So that's my 2 cents for the whole REOSK thing. Thank you.
Thank you.